David Zublick here with your Dark Outpost morning update. Thank you for joining us. But first, a question. Do you know anyone, including yourself or a close family member, who has serious medical issues like multiple sclerosis, MS, cancer, fibromyalgia, diabetes, chronic fatigue syndrome, Parkinson's, ALS, or dementia? Just about everyone I know knows someone who has been touched by one of these illnesses. Either they have it or a close friend or family member has it. Did you know that there is a major, and I do mean major, medical breakthrough that has occurred with regard to these illnesses? Yeah, it's true. And while this breakthrough is not designed to diagnose, treat, mitigate, prevent any of the illnesses that I just mentioned, people have found a tremendous amount of relief from the pain and suffering of these illnesses with this major medical breakthrough, which has been published on PubMed.gov. All right, PubMed.gov, and has been called one of the most important medical breakthroughs in medical history, according to Washington State University. Now, if you or someone you love has been touched by one of these illnesses, let me repeat them again: MS, cancer, fibromyalgia, diabetes, chronic fatigue syndrome, Parkinson's, ALS, dementia, and, by the way, about 300 more different illnesses, because all of these illnesses that I'm referring to have one thing in common. One thing in common, which, if reduced in the human body, will take away a lot of the pain and suffering that these illnesses put onto people. Now, I'd like to get some free information about this into your hands at no cost, no obligation, no pressure. We're not going to sell you anything. I want you to call a good friend of mine. Her name is Paulette Britt. Her telephone number is 704-579-0028. 704-579-0028. She will take your call. She will answer your questions, and she will send you information either via email, and just about everybody has email, or regular mail if you prefer. She's not going to try to sell you anything. She's not going to try to push anything on you. She's a wonderful person, a good friend of mine. You can trust her. All she'll do is get this information into your hands, and then you take a look at it, and you decide if you want to take advantage of an opportunity to end a vast majority of the pain and suffering caused by the diseases that I have just mentioned. All right, once again, please give my good friend Paulette Britt a call, 704-579-0028. Do it today. You're not going to regret it. I promise you that. Speaking of medicine, the FBI and the CDC have launched an investigation after several questionable vials, which were labeled smallpox, were reportedly discovered in a freezer at a big pharma lab near Philadelphia, according to an unclassified alert sent to the Department of Homeland Security on Tuesday night and seen by Yahoo News. 15 mysterious vials were found on Tuesday night at a Merck laboratory. 5 of the ampules carried labels reading smallpox, while the other 10 were said to contain vaccinia virus, the source for the modern smallpox immunization. The vials were reportedly secured immediately, and the facility was briefly placed on lockdown. While that has since been lifted, federal law enforcement, as well as the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, have opened investigations which are ongoing. The CDC is scheduled to take possession of the vials sometime today, according to the alert, which also noted that no Merck staff were exposed to the materials. While it remains unclear exactly where the containers were found, Merck runs two major facilities in Pennsylvania, one in West Point, its largest pharmaceutical manufacturing site, and another in nearby Upper Gwynedd, a 90-acre campus housing a research lab. Smallpox is a deadly infectious disease caused by the variola virus, which carries a mortality rate of about 30%, according to the FDA, though the agency said that some less common forms of the illness are usually fatal. While the last naturally occurring case of smallpox was recorded in the 1970s, with the disease largely eradicated through global vaccination campaigns, two labs are still authorized to store samples of the pathogen for research purposes, including a site in Siberia, Russia, and another at the CDC's headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia. Fox News congressional reporter Chad Pergram reported Tuesday evening that he's been given a tip about Kamala Harris several weeks ago that said he should familiarize himself with the nomination process for a vice president in the House and the Senate. Pergram's report comes after a bombshell CNN report Sunday that the White House was rife with rumors about Joe Biden contemplating nominating the flailing Harris to be a Supreme Court justice to get her out of the administration and out of the line of succession. Jack Posobiec had been reporting weeks ago that Jill Biden was asking about using the 25th Amendment to sideline Harris. The CNN report said that the West Wing staffers had thrown up their hands in dealing with the dysfunctional Harris and her team, while Harris allies told CNN that Biden and his team were being racist against Harris for defending white man Pete Buttigieg more strongly than Harris and Buttigieg came under fire for taking 2 months of parental leave from his Secretary of Transportation post last summer. In response to the report, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki issued a rare Sunday night statement defending Harris. Nonetheless, Pergram followed up his report to Brett Baer with an appearance with Jesse Waters, noting Harris was embarrassed yesterday at Biden's signing of the infrastructure bill at an elaborate White House ceremony on the South Lawn when she was misidentified when it was her turn to speak. So, folks, it's possible that Camel Toe Harris is on her way out. Parents of a 13-year-old daughter have filed a federal lawsuit against the Florida school district after officials at Deer Lake Middle School secretly transitioned her into a transgender male or a biological girl who says she wants to live as a boy, including allowing her to use male spaces like bathrooms and choosing pronouns. Jeffrey and January Littlejohn's daughter, who is referred to as AG in court filings, did talk about her gender confusion with her mother, who holds a master's degree in counseling from Florida State University. January spoke at a gathering of the Florida Family Policy Council about the school withholding from her and her husband what the school did without their knowledge or permission. Interesting. The school claimed the child need to authorize her parents to be at the meeting, and that's why the little girl herself was not at the meeting. The Littlejohn's attorney, Bernadette Broyles, of a nonprofit law firm called the Child and Parental Rights Campaign, said the school could not provide the text the law officials referred to. Boy, this is going to be interesting. Just crazy. And a teacher who has sued a Missouri school district over the use of critical race theory training materials says she fears the school districts are trying to drive a wedge between parents and their children and make educators afraid to dole out discipline. Burke Henderson is trying to force the Springfield, Missouri school district to drop training materials she was subjected to last year that instructed teachers that they might be engaged in oppressive or white supremacist behavior simply by insisting on using English in the classroom, uttering that all lives matter, or calling the police on a black suspect. Just the News obtained the training materials for a story it wrote this week. Henderson told the John Solomon Reports podcast in an interview Monday that she became concerned about the training materials and that they were designed to influence teachers to portray adults as oppressors, undercutting parents' authority with their children. The materials suggested key American institutions like churches we're a part of a cycle of repression. But, quote, I think it's even worse that we're teaching our kids to not trust their parents. She said, quote, if you look at one of the oppression matrices, it says that adults are the oppressor. And you know, the border groups are young adults, but the elderly and the younger children fall into that oppressed category. I cannot think of anything worse than telling your child to not trust their parents and that their parents are oppressive to them. Henderson says she fears that one net effect on teachers who underwent the training is that they have become more reluctant to discipline students even when unruly or engaged in bad behavior. Coming up today on Dark Outpost at 12 noon Eastern Time, live on Rumble, among our guests will be Ginny Silcox, who's going to talk about how material in the vaccines, the quote-unquote jabs, could actually turn people into real, and not imagined, not fake, not something out of a science fiction movie, but real zombies. Yeah, you're going to want to hear this today at noon Eastern on Dark Outpost. Bob Kudla will also join us with a financial and economic forecast and update. And Dr. Jim Fetzer will be here as we continue our ongoing coverage of the Kyle Rittenhouse murder trial. As you know, the jury is still deliberating as of this broadcast and has not yet reached a decision. They may reach that decision as early as today. And of course, should that decision come down during our live broadcast at 12 noon, we'll bring you the information as it becomes available. This is David Zublick with your Dark Outpost Morning Update.